Welcome everyone to the show. This is the Real Happy Hour podcast. My name is Ola, and today is a very special episode. I've got two people on the show. One, first of all, is Lanre Jackson Cole. He's going to be my guest host today, and he's a good friend of mine, and is going to be sort of anchoring the show. My guest, who is all from all the way from where are you from actually?
New York, New Jersey area.
Amazing. So Delaine Isaac is our guest host today. I mean, sorry, our guest today, and he is going to be impacting his views, just sharing his views about the TV show, the Apple TV show called Hijack.
Would any remaining passengers for flight KA29 please make their way to gate B15?
Good morning, everyone. This is Captain Robin Allen speaking. Flight time today, 6 hours, 54 minutes.
Happy to have both of you on the show. Thank you for coming.
You.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Larry. So I guess the very first thing I usually ask is, what do we think of the show?
Who wants to go first?
I'll let Delaine go first. You go first.
Yeah.
It'd be good to hear your views.
I gotta be honest. I'm biased. I'm a huge Idris Elba fan.
Okay.
I actually wanted to have a T-shirt that says Idris Elba is my uncle. I think he's so cool. He exudes like a lot of charm, and he's very talented. I feel like anything he's in, I'm gonna champion it. Even in his worst films, I'm gonna love it. So I'm biased. So anything I say, I'm gonna love it.
I think we can all agree to that. We all probably really enjoy content by Idris Elba, right, Larry?
Yeah, definitely. But what would you say was the best thing about the series, though? What would you say? Take away Idris Elba. We know you love him.
I'm actually a big cinephile. I don't know, a film buff. So I do watch movies differently than most people. You know, I look at the screenplay, I look at the directing, I look at the choreography. You know, I look at it in a different lens. Little things like lighting, they really control the lighting. The fact that they only use one set piece most of the time. They saved a lot of money and budget. So that was clever on their end. But they actually made the story they give you a good cliffhanger at the end of the show, you know. That's divisive and that's supposed to happen, you know. That's a good show. You're supposed to have a good cliffhanger. And they did really good character building with people on a plane. So you could have some, you know, emotional connections with certain particular players involved. So those are some of the things I thought they did pretty well.
Yeah, I think I agree. Actually, I think for me, it was really nice that the show you were able to connect with the characters, even when you take about the the woman that was in charge of the flights and how she sort of came out natural, like, oh, her son was ill and she just had to go. So the characters were quite nicely split across the show, and it was dynamic, very dynamic. I think I like the fact that it was like really sort of, it kept you wanting more each time, each episode you saw. And so yeah, no, the acting was quite good. Really good acting. I think from what you said, I actually thinking about it now, it's about all the fact that most of the series actually happened on the plane. So yeah, they definitely saved a lot of money there. But no, yeah, I've not had a series that kept me wanting more in a long time. So it was quite refreshing, just viewing that. So yeah, no,
yeah. There was a movie, Lisa Neum. He was on a plane. Do you remember it?
No. Oh no. What's the movie called?
I forgot the name of it, but Lisa Neum, he's on a plane. And
Lisa Neum or Liam Neeson?
Is it Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson. I'm saying his name wrong.
No, that's all right.
He was on a plane, and it was like terrorists. It was like a terrorist threat on a plane, and he kept getting text messages saying, "Hey, if you don't do this, we're gonna do this to your family, or we're gonna expose you," or something like that. So he had to figure out who was on the plane in cahoots. It was kind of like a mystery thriller.
Mm.
And so it kind of reminded me of that film.
Was that the
Um,
element in Hijack too? Was there like a sort of high stakes where Idris was going through something and he had to sort of solve the situation or how to
yeah,
deal with
it
I think
the
was
greater
it was
situation?
similar. It was similar. I would say the only difference is it was like a whodunit film versus you already know who's like the villain,
In Hijack.
right? So
yeah.
And
that was like,
do you feel like they like delved into the motivation of the character or the villain in the movie, or was it just I don't know, because that's why both of you are here on the
Yeah,
stage.
I
You
think,
kind of tell me
yeah,
more.
I can sort of give insights what my thoughts are on that. I don't know what Delaine thinks, but I think I liked the series perhaps a little bit more because as much as when you see oh my god it's like a hijack and you get this thing whereby you feel oh it's going to be like a terrorist attack and it's going to be another oh my god another Arabic kind of biased film, but I think what was really good for me in this series is that very early into the series you realize okay it's not a terrorist attack, there's something else the behind the hijack, and it's like ooh, the beginning you're not quite sure why are they hijacked the plane, where's the plane going, and it wasn't quite obvious where this was going, so the storyline was quite good in terms of suspense, I think. um, and yeah, in terms of Idris and his character and how they built it, it wasn't obvious. I don't know what you think, Delaine, but I don't think it was really obvious from the start where the story was going. I don't think so.
yeah, I thought what was cool was that in most roles he always plays this heroic character. Uh, there were some moments where I'm like, he has plot armor. We know he's not going to die. But what I thought was cool was that they had other players involved where, he's a good negotiator and they try to play that up. But he was not only negotiating with the villains, but he was negotiating to get people on his side to work with him. So I thought that was the different nuance that I haven't really seen. To get people to work with you, to get people to trust you, and then he was talking to people with different cultures and backgrounds, right? So you'll have somebody that speaks the language that the other villains speak, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Yes, because that was the one of the flight attendants that spoke Hungarian and everything, so he
Yeah.
had to sort of like link. I think to answer your question, he was Idris Elba was sort of like this big high shot negotiator that worked in Dubai, and he was going through this thing with his ex in London, and he was saying
Mhm.
the reason why he went on the flight in the first place was he was going to reconnect with his ex-wife, and in the beginning she was like don't come to London, we don't want to see you, and they had a son together and the son really wanted to see the dad, so it was sort of based around his relationship with his family, and that was the reason why he was on the plane. But then there were also sort of like characters they added in the beginning, like when the one of the hijackers got on the plane and he sort of begged for him to be allowed onto the plane because he was running late. So it was like, ooh, how does that link into the show? So it was quite clever, as you say,
Yeah.
how they pieced all the characters of the show together. And yeah, no, it was really the story was well thought of to keep people suspensed, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. The set piece was totally on the airplane, but at the same time, they did a good job of doing outside context, raising the stakes a little bit, showing, okay, Idris has something to lose. He has like a son, he has family, and then they were showing the other people on board, they had family too. So it was like stakes, raising the stakes. And then as you get deeper into, this is like a really good, cool film technique that I like about film is you get rewarded the longer you watch the film, right? So, you got your state, you got your first act, right? You got the character building, right? You establish who the good guys are, the antagonists, protagonists, all that good stuff. But then, like, you got the plot art, you got the plot twist. But there's like a trail of giving you a reward as you watch. So if you skip something and you miss something, you miss that reward. You miss that. Well, how does this person connect to this whole thing? So you gotta watch every single episode, and just like a good, like, I felt like this thing could have been a nice film.
Yeah.
An hour and 30 minutes long runtime. Because it had all those things. It had like the first act. When you get to the third act, it's kind of like you either gonna drop the ball or you're gonna pick it up and score. Because the third act is like when everything just unravels and like this is what it is. Is he gonna make it? So I thought it actually successfully achieved those things, holistically. So I thought that was I felt like it continued the theme of watching like a series or a film. It had all those things. So it didn't drop the ball. I guess, we're talking about positives, right? So as far as like negatives, there's not too many negatives I can say.
Does the film explore any like social commentary or do you feel like the show addressed any sort of broader issue around the security, terrorism, or anything like that? Or am I just going left?
Yeah.
I think the series was just like a really good watch. I broader actually in terms of negatives. I know Delaine was just we were so focused on the positives. I think it's interesting, bearing in mind where we are in the world right now. It felt too easy on how they got all the weapons on board. I would say, in terms of the storyline, they could have been more creative as to how they got all the weapons on board. And then I'm just trying to think if there's any other. Yeah, the weapons for me would be the biggest sort of like. It wasn't. Yeah, the storyline didn't quite.
Like that would never happen in real life. How they were just able to.
Yeah, they're just. In real life, you could really doubt how would that happen. It's just, it's not easy to get weapons on board just like that.
Yeah, and the navigation system, when the control center, the lady was working like, hey, a minute, this is kind of off course. I don't know anything about that life. Actually, I'm an avid traveler, but I don't know. I thought that was clever. But I think with a lot of TV shows like The Walking Dead, or any TV show of that matter, it starts off strong, and then in the middle it's kind of like slowing down, and then it kind of is running out of ideas, and it was like, all right, well, let's just do this. And you kind of like, you're just like, you know what, that's okay, because this is not real. So you kind of like go with it. But sometimes, sometimes shows have those holes and they just fill it up because it's fantasy, it's not real. So
like with what you did, Delaine, where you're like a travel entrepreneur, like does content like this create any sort of anxiety around like your
well,
community?
I think on a subconscious level, the reason why I chose Hijack is because I travel a lot, and I've never been in situations like that, but I've been on a plane, and I was going from Brazil back to the States, and it was late at night. It was like 4 a.m, and we had turbulence, but it was so bad that I felt like the pilot fell asleep or something. it was like it was like three big drops. It was kind of like you're on a roller coaster ride. And the first drop, it was really big, and everybody was like, "Oh," it was like a commotion. Then the second one was absolutely bigger than the first one. I really thought, like, okay, this is it.
It's over.
This is it. This is how I go down. Like I go down because of my passion to do the travel podcasting, and I'm like, all right, well, this is how how the saying goes. This is an American saying that says, "You live by the jumper, you die by the jumper." Jump shot. It's like one of those situations where I live by my travel, I die by it. So,
Yeah, I guess there's nothing wrong with dying for what you love. I think just had to put it out there. No, I think for me, one of the anxieties was I was meant to go on a flight between the episodes, so I just sort of skipped the episodes the week I was going to travel. I was like, just because you didn't know where the storyline was going to see if the plane was going to crash or not. So I was like, I don't really want to see it if I'm going to travel. So like the next week. So I skipped some episodes just in between when I was traveling. So yeah, it does give you anxieties. Well, for me it did, because the way they played out the characters so calmly, there wasn't sort of like this big, I don't know, there wasn't this big, focus on the passengers until they get on the plane. So whereas, most, at least a lot of films that you see in the past, where in the build up to the flight, they sort of walk you through all the passengers and stuff like that. But here it was, boom, everybody's on the plane. So it's like they didn't build you up to the passengers getting on the plane. So yeah, that bit, maybe they could have done better actually with that. Sort of getting a feel for the hijackers, for all the hijackers that were on the plane before the flight, and get you to understand. But I think it was really good because they could make only it. I guess it allowed them to make only 7 episodes, because again, if they had done that, they'll probably need more episodes to talk us through each of the hijackers and how they fit in the storyline.
Right. Yeah. I mean, one of the, I guess one of the things about planes and making series and movies and planes is kind of like a cheat code. So like what I mean by that is, who doesn't like a good zombie movie, whether it's bad or good? It's kind of like one of those things where it's a niche that everybody would love to watch no matter what. You know what I mean? Like Walking Dead or 28 Days Later, or there's a million zombie films out there. And I think Airplane series or movies is the same way. It's one of those niches where getting on a plane already gives you anxiety. So you're going to add more to that. Oh yeah, I'm going to watch this. It's kind of like the red meat of like content, of entertainment. People want to watch these things because they want to know, are they going to make it or not? Every time I go on a plane, I'm not going to lie. Every time I go on a plane, I'm like, in the back of my head, 1%, and a lot of people won't admit this. I'm always thinking, like, am I going to make it?
Jesus. Nah, I don't. I try not to think of that. I try every time not to ever have that.
I think I'm with you on that. I think secret, maybe not so much every time, but there are times where you get a little bit of turbulence, and I'm thinking, is this it? Is like, and stuff like that, especially when you feel like, ooh, the pilots are struggling to control the plane. I don't know if you've been on one of those, like, where he's struggling, he's perhaps trying to get above a cloud, and you're thinking, oh, this is this is going to go wrong. Or the worst part of it is, and I hate to think about this, is when you hear about flights where there have been birds being stuck in the engines of the planes as you go through a cloud. So for me, it's when you're landing or about to land and you're going through these clouds and you're thinking, ooh, there could be a bird here that would go
Yeah.
into the engine of the plane.
Yeah.
That sometimes I think about in terms of anxieties being on a
I've
plane.
never thought about that before, so that's a new
That
one for
is-
me. Never thought about
Yeah,
birds
that's
getting caught in the engine before. So a new level of anxiety.
but do you know what? But at the end of the day, there's always this excitement, especially for me. I like flying. The best part of flying for me is the landing bit because you watch as the plane descends from like a very high altitude and you sort of watch it descend to the ground. So I enjoy. The worst part of flying is probably the takeoff for me. I sort of think, ooh, especially when they're trying to do a tilt when they're taking off, I'm thinking, oh, that could go wrong.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, no,
I guess content creators have found a way of like identifying that it's things that people use regularly or things people are subconsciously afraid of, like a zombie attack or getting on a plane. Those are things that will get people
Yeah.
engaged in the content. Because even sometimes I think of snakes on the plane, like randomly.
Yeah.
I still
I
think
mean, yeah, if you think about it, like if that happened where it was turbulence, it was actually the third drop. It was so bad that if you didn't have a seatbelt, you flew out of your seat. I saw food flying, somebody got injured. And when we landed, everyone clapped. And when we walked through the airport, everyone clapped for us because everyone heard about our flight.
oh wow.
It was one of those things where we were the airplane that everyone knew our number, and I guess all the workers were awaiting our ride, but they clapped for us. It was really it was a surreal thing. Now, if I would have filmed that and I would have put it anywhere, it would have went viral because that's what people want to see. They want to see sensationalism, and so yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see Idris do something different.
Yeah.
Be in a different setting.
I'll be interested to know though, who was your? I know Idris, you're like this Idris mega fan, but who else sort of stood out for you in terms of the show?
I guess the white guy with the beard, he had the fake gun.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Initially, he had the fake gun. Then he went and I don't know his name. He went and got the real gun. I thought he did a decent job at acting, and he was kind of conflicted in moments. He was kind of like he was the one that was giving he was successfully satisfying the fact that you just had good negotiating skills, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was playing that up like, he's like, yo, what are you doing over there? Stop doing that. And Idris is like, hey man, I'm on your side. I want to make you happy. I want to make sure that everything is smooth, because I'm like, it's kind of like you're out with your buddies, right? And you got a smooth talker in your gang.
Yeah.
And you're all like, yo, talk. Can you get that girl?
Yeah.
You can't get that girl. I bet you $20. And he goes over there and you don't even know what he says. And he comes back with the number. And she's like, to raise the stakes, he comes back with her and goes into a corner and they spend the rest of the evening with each other. And you're like, what did he say? Yeah. So it's kind of like you're getting a magnifying glass or you're a fly on a wall and you're in that conversation and your buddy is spitting game. Like Idris is talking to this character and he's responding and you're watching like, oh, okay, that's why he's a good negotiator. But that's not all on him. That's on the villain as well. The villain has to play him up. So I thought he did a really good job playing him up. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I agree. It's almost like he got into his head, didn't he? So in some parts of it where you could see, almost. He almost succeeded in talking him to give him the gun. In some instances, he almost gave him the gun. That was quite good. And then playing on with his brother as well. So that got to him in places.
Right.
I guess for me though, the best character I think was the flight controller, where she really took charge in places, and she's like, "This is my plane. I'm gonna land you." And I think she was a bit dramatic in places, and everybody loves a good drama.
Yeah.
She was good at giving drama, flight controller. So it was really good. What about the worst character? Who do you think was worst?
One of the villains, he didn't really have a lot of words. He had a beard. I think I don't know if he was Muslim, but he was very aggressive. But I felt like it was overly aggressive. And I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it like, oh, he's a huge threat. He's imposing his physical will. But it was very unnecessary. It was like, I'm not really believing this scene. He's like, because the father and son, the father needed his medicine. He was like, oh, I just need his medicine. And he was like, no. He's like throwing him to the ground. And I'm like, man, this is not really a believable scene. This is unnecessary. So it was overact. It was kind of like seeing a character in a play overact.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not really liking this character. Yeah. It's not really believable for me.
For me, I think the worst character would be, the two men that were released from prison. I think the one that got killed, I just felt like his character got wasted. He could have run away. He could have
had one of those.
Right.
Did I have a wasted character?
Yeah, exactly that. It was like, oh my god, like you are just irrelevant. You just managed to escape from prison. They got to this place, and it was all up in his friend's ear, and the friend just shot him, and he just got like his whole character just got wasted. So I think that would be like the worst for me. It felt a bit pointless.
Yeah, you always gotta have one of those characters, a throwaway character.
Yeah,
like in a horror film, soon as like the opening intro, you see this one character and they just get wasted in like one scene, and it's like, well, okay, and then the intro pops up. It's kind of like one of those type of things.
Every Scream movie is like that. Just
he was definitely one of those. So just like
it's very formulaic.
So for someone that has not seen the series, how does it? Do you feel like it resolves at the end? Because I know early on in this recording, you said there's like a cliffhanger. So is there like a resolution? Like, spoilers are very much allowed. So please, is there a resolution? What happens?
It satisfied me the way it ended. So I don't. Am I spoiling it if I tell you the end? Are you
Go
gonna?
ahead, so it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they do end up landing safely, and the authorities are on the scene. They're all being escorted out, and my favorite guy, well, my two favorite characters, it's kind of like a one-on-one, and it's almost like, okay, Idris might not make it because he's trying to get a one-up on him. I think was it like two guys left, and then it was Idris.
No, there was just the one guy. So your guy, the bearded guy, that was left on the plane with Idris at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So you almost like this guy gets to jump on Idris, but Idris uses intellect, and I think he like calls himself to act like he's in a bathroom. So to make the villain think he's in the bathroom, but he's in another location. So when that guy goes to the bathroom, he gets to jump on him. So it was like this play of cat and mouse at the end. So it's kind of like it's almost like you're watching a horror film and you take out the villain, but he comes back to life one more time, and you gotta like take him out. It's like one of those type of things for me.
So they follow the rules of like horror filmmaking. There's the throwaway characters, and then there's the killer that always comes back to life. And
I think it the story ends, if that's what you're asking. It does end,
Yeah.
but I think for me there were moments where obviously the plane lands safely,
Right.
and then all the characters come out and all the hijackers are captured and they're confirmed and everything. And it was like, oh, there was the one main hijacker left on the plane, and Idris sort of gets on it that he's not out. And he goes back and just think, oh my God, why?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
Like, you're like thinking, who does that? Who goes back into the plane to go and find some villain?
Yeah.
So Idris does that, but yeah, that's where I guess the true Idris as a hero comes out, and he saves the day by getting the last hijacker who almost got away captured.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. The series does not leave you thinking there will be a second season. It doesn't feel like there's going to be a second season. It feels like it's it ends there. The only thing that might give a second season is because Idris's character is this big shot negotiator. I think the only way they could twist it to get a second season is if something else happens, and then he needs to like jump in and get involved.
Right.
That would be, it does end, in my opinion.
It's like Luther. I don't know if have you seen the series Luther?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Do you think that his movies are sort of setting up for the idea of him playing Bond? Like, is there like a theme of him sort of playing the character? I mean, it's highly unlikely that he will be Bond, but do you feel like this is just like because they probably started production on this years ago, so probably wrote the script years ago with him in mind, probably 2015 or 16 or something. No, and do you think that sort of plays into the idea of him being the leading role actor to play Bond?
Yeah, I mean, Idris has this ironclad thing in his agent doesn't allow him to die in films. I mean, is there ever a film where he ever dies? So I guess that's another negative. When he's in something, it's like, okay, he's gonna live. So it's like, is it really high stakes? I'd be actually surprised if he actually died. You know, it's kind of like watching the Black Panther movie, the first one. I think the reason why I really did well is because a character actually died, like Killmonger died, and it's like, whoa. Yeah. And you're kind of like hoping, like, yeah, he's gonna come back. He's like, no, he's not coming back. So it makes you like respect the filmmaking. It makes you, it gives a higher stake.
Yeah. I think that's it goes the same with Game of Thrones. It's almost like nobody's safe. Anyone can go at any time. So that keeps you on your toes because you're liking and people connect to this character over the series or over some episodes, and you're thinking, oh, this guy's just died. Like it's almost like the producers didn't let you process this. You have this grief coming with the show. But yeah, you're right. I think maybe another negative would be how easy things were for Idris in the series, whereby he was able to, like, at some point talk down the hijackers from killing the passengers or so I think things were maybe too easy for him.
Wait, I just thought now, Idris died in an Avengers movie. He died in one.
You're talking about Heimdall.
Which wasn't the main character though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but he wasn't the main character though.
Yeah, but he was still. Yeah. I mean, he came back though. Like he was like a spirit, wasn't it? It was like a
Heimdall
energy.
He came back.
Didn't he come back? But not physically back, but was back somehow.
I wouldn't be surprised if he just comes back.
But I think he died in that one. But I'll put that in mind. Like every time I see Idris in the action movie, he probably will not die.
Idris never dies.
He never dies. Okay. So it's like one of those things. Like he has plot armor like Denzel Washington never dies.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know,
So he's
um,
basically the leading man. That's who he
True,
is. The
actually, when you
leading
think
man doesn't
and I
usually
think
about
die in a lot of roles.
that's why he got the Oscar in Training Day,
it.
because it was like he's playing a villain. He actually dies. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And the way he dies, he kind of goes out like Killmonger. You know what I mean? He goes out like with guns blazing.
Yeah.
A shoe program. King Kong ain't got nothing on me. He just says all these quotable. So
Yeah. No, that's actually true. I've never looked at it in that sort of like. Well, for you though, Delaine, were there any shocking moments in the series, like all through the season? Something like made you think, "Oh my God, how did that just happen?"
I guess two, when they were going to different sets outside the airplane, they were going in the place of London when these other characters are going to people's homes and murdering people.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, they were just cold blooded about it. It was kind of like Terminator-ish. Those moments were shocking because you knew that Idris family was next.
Mm.
Somehow they were connected. So that was a little bit of stake. Another one, um, I think I'm not sure if I'm correct, but the lady was flying the plane
Amanda.
and she had her family threatened as well.
Yeah,
And she was like, I'm doing this for my family. And he was just like, yeah, but like think about your family if you know what I mean? Like, what if you go away?
yeah.
So
Yeah. So
uh
I think
what's
for me, the most shocking moment was the when the pilot was killed by Amanda. The woman is like, oh my God, like
yeah.
who's gonna? It almost felt like for a moment I thought, who's gonna fly the plane?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
It's
what's
like,
the
what the hell? What do we
pilot?
do
Like, oh
now?
my God, are they gonna crash? Does that
Yeah.
mean they're gonna
Did
crash?
someone just step up randomly and just say, "I can fly the plane"? And
No, no, no. So what happened was the hijackers had implants. So they had the main characters who had hijacked the plane, but then there was this random woman who was also part of the hijacking crew per se, but nobody else knew about her. So she stepped in when things started going wrong for the other hijackers. So she just stepped in, killed the pilot, and then just went into the cockpit and just closed the door. So everyone was like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" It's like it just shocked everyone. I was like,
Plot twist.
"What?"
was that her reveal? That was like a moment of reveal? Like we all
Yeah,
just
that
thought
was
she
her
was a
moment of
regular
reveal.
passenger.
Yeah, yeah. She was just like, she tied her hair. She was just going, got the gun out, and just shot the pilot. Like, oh, what? That
Yeah.
was I think
Exactly.
that was like the most shocking moment for me because it felt like for about I don't know for about 2 seconds, it felt like, oh, are they going to crash now? It felt really serious that they were going to crash, but then I guess as you say, Idris never dies. I didn't think about it like that at the time, but
Mhm.
yeah.
But
What would
yeah,
you rate this movie out of 10?
the series.
I mean, it's just a series. I keep calling it a movie. I think because it's on Apple TV, I keep thinking of.
It could be a movie. It could be if they package it like 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah, out of 10.
Oh, yeah, I think I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Um, in places, the characters were believable. You could almost see it happen, so that sort of gave it that feel to it. So
Mhm.
for me, yeah, I'll give you a good 7. Yeah, that's the way of sort of like summarizing.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. I think what I really get is through this conversation is there's a lot of realism in the movie, and there's a lot of like, nah, this is would it be surrealism? Like, just it's definitely not possible. So
Yeah.
there's that mix of the high stakes character sort of arc and the leading man archetype, and so
Yeah,
it sort of um reinforces a lot of the key themes around a good movie. So I haven't seen the movie, so I mean, so series. So I that's why I wanted Larry on the call, and obviously you suggested the series, and I
Yeah.
thought it would be really good that people who had more information about the series could be on this podcast and talk about this because I've learned a lot about it.
Yeah, I
And
think
just listening to
to
people.
just and I think for me, like some of the other surreal moments of the movie, in terms of maybe you think, oh my God, could this really happen? It's when you had the Home Office secretary and the foreign minister arguing about who's got jurisdiction and stuff like that. I just think, ooh, could that happen? It
Mhm.
made me sort of think. And then there were times in the movie where they deployed F-16 jets.
Mhm.
And I remember having a debate to myself thinking, if this were real, would they have allowed the plane to come into the London airspace? Would they just have shut it down? But then when you think
Right.
about it, there were a lot of British citizens on the plane, so perhaps not. So yeah, there was a lot of, ooh, could this happen? Could that not happen? So yeah, no, it was really good. It kept me thinking, ooh, yeah, how would that
Yeah.
work in reality?
Yeah, that was really divisive. That actually remind me of Christopher Nolan's Batman with Robin, with the Joker when he had two boats and both of boats had explosives on it, and each boats had to decide who's going to take out which boat before let's say 8 o'clock, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, you're wondering like who's going to take each other out, and then no one takes each other out because they don't want to kill each other. And Batman was like, see, there's still faith in humanity.
Yeah.
And the Joker's like pissed off, like, damn it, he's like using like kind of like socialism, like he's like giving the power into people's hands to decide what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with the government, what they did with the F-19s. They had are they going to take them down, or are they going to risk it and let this plane potentially crash into a city?
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
Yeah, because again, there were times where they were thinking, "Oh, we will evacuate the city," but then you're like, you can't evacuate London within that time frame. So it's like so many things to sort of debate about and think, ooh, what would happen in reality? It makes you think. Every time I see a plane really close by, I'm thinking, oh,
exactly.
Is that going to crash? And how would you deal with a plane crash? Yes,
right.
It was really good. I enjoyed the series, and it's been a while since I've sort of watched the series and think, oh, that's a really good thriller, suspense kind of feel. Yeah.
And it looks like a really diverse cast. Maybe not really, but there's Idris is black, and there's Asian lady, there's white. It just seems like it's somewhat diverse. And
yeah, it was a nice surprise. It popped up out of nowhere. I don't think I've seen adverts for it. And I'm a Idris big fan, so I was like, I'm watching it regardless. But it was good. It was good. It was decent.
Awesome.
I wouldn't watch it again, but it was decent.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So I know, being an Idris fan, perhaps you watch it all over again at some point.
Yeah.
So how do you rate?
I'd rather watch Luther. What's that?
How do you rate something you really enjoy? Do you really like you watching it over again, or you've just seen it one time and you're like, I'm stepping away, it's fine, this one time?
Yeah, I would rather watch like Luther.
Okay.
Some of his other works, like Luther, I watch over and over. Just like, did I miss something here? It was just so clever. It just brought something. It brought something different, and authentic. I feel like I think creators do tons of airplane films, but you got this British guy. He doesn't have a gun. He has to use his intellect. Sometimes he has to use his strength. And he's like a dark character, and I love that. He's like willing to die. He's almost like Batman without the suit and all that.
Anti-hero is this
right?
That sort of thing. There's always that feeling of content consumers, where we're watching films, TV, and there's an anti-hero, and we're just rooting for that person more, just like Killmonger, or even what's the snapping guy? What's it called? Thanos. Like we sort of like their story because there's more texture, there's more color to their story, and it's not just Superman who's just this very vanilla hero.
Right. Yeah, just straight up. Right. He's super complex. I like really complex characters. So.
It's a good
Awesome.
summary.
Well, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. This has been a very, very great session. Thank you so much, Lanre, for coming in here and sort of you know anchoring this. And Delaine, thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing your experience of the movie. I really hope both of you make the time again to come on and have a conversation. Hopefully, you're in London anytime soon, Delaine, and we can.
Yeah, I'll add you on Instagram. I've been to London twice and I loved it, man. So
London is amazing.
I don't know when I'll come back though.
So
Not
before
sure.
before wrapping up, you should share your social media handles, both of you. Amri, if you'd like to put it out there.
Yeah,
Um,
you go ahead.
yeah, for me, my social media handle is I am LJ Cole on Instagram. That's where you mainly find me. Yeah, that's me. Thank you very much for having me.
Very welcome.
My handle is Delaine Isaac. Instagram, YouTube, no reservations. Anthony Bourdain came out with no reservations. Rest in peace to him. But if you type in no reservations on YouTube, as long as you see some black folks, that's me. So,
Fair enough. Yeah, no. It's been a really good conversation. Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Let me do like a wrap up of the show. Thank you very much. This is the Real Happy Hour podcast. You can please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're streaming this on any platform that you can stream your podcast, please leave us a review, and follow us on this journey. Thank you all for listening and watching, and see you all very, very soon.